Let's get right into it. Ever had the unsettling feeling that something is nudging your choices, making you act a little weird and you can't explain why? What if I told you that in the natural world, there are parasites that don't just live off their hosts, they take over their minds? It sounds like pure horror fiction, but it's very real, and some of these mind-bending invaders might already be closer to you than you think. Number 7. Leucochloridium, the zombie snail puppet master. Picture this. You're a snail, just living your slow, peaceful life. Suddenly, you're infected by a parasite called Leucochloridium, which invades your body and settles in your eye stalks. That's when things get weird. Your eyes swell up, pulsate with bright colors, and suddenly you're compelled to crawl out into the open right where birds can see you. It's basically the snail version of wearing a neon "Eat Me" sign. The parasite's goal? To get eaten by a bird, where it can continue its life cycle. The bird poops out the parasite's eggs, snails eat the poop, and the nightmare loop begins again. Nature can be wildly creative and pretty brutal when it comes to getting what it wants. So, next time you think you're making your own choices, take a moment to consider how even a simple organism can fall victim to something else's plan. Number 6. Toxoplasma gondii, the cat's invisible influence. You know that urban legend about your cat controlling your mind? It might not be so far-fetched. Toxoplasma gondii is a tiny parasite that completes its life cycle in cats, but along the way, it infects rodents and sometimes humans. In rodents, the parasite travels to the brain and flips a crucial switch. Suddenly, mice and rats lose their instinctive fear of cats. Instead, they become curious, even attracted to cat scents, making them easy prey. For the parasite, this is perfect once the rodent is eaten. T. gondii is back in its feline home. But what about us? Studies have shown that infected humans may experience subtle changes, more risk-taking, slower reaction times, even shifts in personality. It's been linked, controversially, to everything from increased car accidents to mental health changes. Most people never know they've got it. Up to a third of the global population may be carrying it right now. And where do we most often get exposed? Cat litter. The scariest part isn't that Toxoplasma turns you into a zombie, it's that something so tiny could be nudging your behavior without you ever noticing. Scientists are still debating how deep these changes go, but the idea that a parasite could influence your actions even a little is a humbling and creepy thought. If you've got a cat, take a second to appreciate the bond you share, and remember, nature's weirdest hacks are sometimes right in your living room. Number 5. Ophiocordyceps, the real-life fungal zombie maker. Deep in the jungle, ants march up stalks, seemingly possessed. This isn't just bad luck, it's Ophiocordyceps, a fungus that specializes in mind control. The fungus infects an ant, takes over its nervous system, and compels it to climb to the perfect height above the forest floor. There, the ant bites down and clamps on, then dies, while the fungus slowly grows out of its body and releases spores to start the process over. Why bother with such drama? The fungus needs the ant high above the ground to spread its spores efficiently. It's a perfect, horrifying strategy. Turn your host into a delivery system, then let it die in the most useful spot possible. Entire colonies can be devastated by outbreaks, shifting the balance of the rainforest and shaping which ant species survive. Next time you spot a mushroom, remember sometimes the most familiar life forms have secret agendas. Number 4. Hairworms, the suicide urge in insects. Let's take a moment for crickets and grasshoppers. If you're one of them, you live in constant danger not just from birds or frogs, but from hairworms. After infecting an insect, these long, thin worms grow and develop, all while staying hidden inside the host's body. When the worm is ready to move on, it pulls a truly sinister trick. It manipulates the host's brain, compelling it to seek out water and jump in, even if it means drowning. Once in the water, the hairworm bursts out and swims away, leaving behind the drowned insect. It's one of nature's most dramatic mind control routines, and it all happens beneath the surface quite literally. If you ever find yourself doing something that seems totally against your nature, take a step back and check what's motivating you. Number 3. Rabies, the virus that rewrites your instincts. This one's a classic monster, but with a scientific twist. Rabies is a virus with a chillingly simple goal: get into the brain, take over, and make the host as aggressive and bitey as possible. After entering the body, usually through a bite, rabies travels along the nervous system, eventually reaching the brain. That's when the personality changes start: fear, confusion, hallucinations, and especially a terror of water. The latter is so famous it's got its own name, hydrophobia. The virus hijacks the animal's instincts, making it lash out and try to bite anything that moves. Why? Because biting spreads the virus to new hosts. It's pure evolutionary strategy, and it works frighteningly well. Infected animals become transmission machines. And yes, humans aren't immune. The disease is almost always fatal once symptoms appear, and it's one of the oldest recognized in medical history, lurking in myths and horror stories worldwide. What's truly unnerving about rabies isn't just how it destroys, it's how it manipulates. The changes in behavior aren't random, they're finely tuned by evolution to maximize the virus's survival. It's a reminder that sometimes our actions aren't as ours as we think, especially when something else has a stake in our story. If you ever meet a wild animal acting strangely, keep your distance and trust your instincts sometimes. Caution is the smartest thing you can do. Number 2. Lancet liver fluke, the mind-controlling worm. Meet the Lancet liver fluke, a tiny worm with a huge influence over its hosts. Its journey starts in a snail, then moves to an ant. Once inside the ant, things get wild. At dusk, the infected ant is compelled to climb up a blade of grass and clamp down, holding on all night, totally vulnerable. Why? Because a grazing animal like a cow or sheep might eat the grass and the ant completing the parasite's life cycle. If the ant survives the night, it goes back to normal behavior during the day, only to repeat the climb again the next evening. It's a behavioral loop written by a parasite's needs, not the ant's desires. The manipulation is so specific that it only happens at night when the ant is least likely to overheat or dry out. When you catch yourself on autopilot, maybe ask yourself if something else is calling the shots. Number 1. Cordyceps in humans, the chilling what if. Let's talk about the scenario that's fueled more nightmares and blockbuster television shows than any other. Cordyceps fungi jumping from insects to humans. Right now, cordyceps are the stuff of ant and spider horror, but what if they evolved the ability to infect people? The fear isn't totally groundless. Fungi are some of the planet's most adaptable life forms, and their ability to manipulate hosts is already proven in the insect world. Scientists say the jump to humans isn't likely, yet. Our body temperature, immune system, and complex brain structure put up serious roadblocks. But as global temperatures rise and fungi evolve, some researchers worry about new threats emerging, maybe not zombie mind control, but more subtle behavior-altering effects. We already know fungi can manipulate animal behavior, and other parasites can influence our brains. The gap, while huge, isn't unthinkable forever. But maybe the creepiest part isn't the science, it's the way these stories hit something deep in us. The idea that our sense of self, our choices, our thoughts, could be overwritten by an outside force is universally unsettling. That's why the story of Cordyceps keeps popping up in fiction. It hits the nerve that says, what if I'm not really in control? When you feel a sudden urge or mood, let it remind you how wild and mysterious your brain and the natural world still are. Nature has a knack for writing the strangest, most unsettling stories, sometimes inside our own bodies. If you're fascinated by the weird, the unseen, and the creepy-crawly corners of biology, hit that subscribe button and keep exploring the wild side of life with us. Stay curious, stay aware, and never forget, sometimes the weirdest monsters are the ones you never see.